The OSI model. The OSI model, it stands for Open Systems Interconnection Model, is a conceptual framework used to describe the functions of a networking system. The OSI model characterizes computing functions into a universal set of rules and requirements in order to support interoperability between different products and software. In the OSI reference model, the communications between a computing system are split into 7 different abstractions layers: the physical, data link, networking layer, transport layer, session, presentation, and application. So let's have a look here. As you can see, so here are the 7 layers we have. We have the application layer, the end user layer, HTTP, FTP, IRS, SSH, DNS. We have the presentation layer, the syntax layer, which is SLSL, SSH, IMAP, FTP, and you can see that the presentation, like the FTP, exists in the presentation and the application. We have the session layer for sync and send to port, API sockets, WinSock, and so on. Transport layer, so here is responsible for the TCP and UDP, exists in the transport layer, end-to-end connections. We have the network, the packets, IP, ICMP, IPsec, IGMP. We have the data link like frames, Ethernet, PPP, or triple P. We have switch and bridge, so you can see it is inside the data link. We have the physical finally, which is the physical structure, the coax, fibers, wireless hubs, repeaters, and so on. Okay. By the way, the routers will be here inside this layer, or categorized inside this layer. Now let's start with the physical layer. Now this is the lowest layer of the OSI model, which is concerned with electrically or optically transmitting raw and structured data bits across the network, from the physical layer of the sending device to the physical layer of the receiving device. Okay, so from sending to receiving. It can include specifications such as voltage, pin layout, cabling, and radio frequencies. At the physical layer, one might find physical resources such as network hubs, cabling repeaters, network adapters, or modems. Now for the data link layer. At the data link layer, directly connected nodes are used to perform node-to-node data transfer where data is packaged into frames. So the data link layer also corrects errors that may have occurred at the physical layer. And the data link layer encompasses 2 sub-layers of its own. So the first, media access control, which is the MAC, provides flow control and multiplexing for device transmission over a network. The second, which is the LLC, the logical link control, provides flow and error control over the physical medium as well as identifies line protocols. For the network layer is responsible for receiving frames from the data link layer and delivering them to their intended destinations based on the addresses contained inside the frame. The network layer finds the destination by using logical addresses, such as IP, the Internet Protocol. At this layer, routers are crucial component used to quite literally route information where it needs to go between networks. And by the way, the router categorized in this network layer, or in this layer. The transport layer. It manages the delivery and error checking of data packets. It regulates the size, sequencing, and ultimately the transfer of data between systems and hosts. One of the most common examples of the transport layer is the TCP, or the Transmission Control Protocol, or the UDP. So TCP and UDP are here. The session layer. Session layer controls the conversations between different computers. A session or connection between machines is set up, managed, and terminated at layer 5, which is the session layer. So session layer services also include authentication and reconnections. For the presentation layer, the presentation layer formats or translate data for application layer based on the syntax or semantics that the application accepts. So because of this, at times also called the syntax layer, this layer can also handle the encryption and decryption required by the application. And finally, we have the application layer, which is at this layer, both the end user and the application layer interact directly with the software application. This layer sees network services provided to end user applications such as web browser or Office 365, The application layer identifies communication partners, resource availability, and